Hi, I'm going to be trying the Popin Cookin Make Your Own Candy Kit. And it has all the instructions that you need on the back, instruction labels on the side, and ingredients because it is candy. So let's just open this up and see how we're going to make our own candy. So apparently we have to cut around all of this dotted line and then kind of use it as a little thing for our candy. There also is dotted lines around the other side, but since it doesn't say to cut that part, I'm not going to cut it just in case. Take the tray out and then just cut around. And then I'll put that here because I guess that's like a protection sheet, and that's where they end up putting their donuts. And then the first step is to take some scissors and cut this mold and reservoir and cup thing apart. Also on the cup things, they also have little signs like a music note, a heart, and a star, and I'm guessing that will come into play when we start making our candy. So the first step is to fill the round depression, more like a reservoir dent, with water, and then take our custard dough and then just custard dough powder and then just mix it together, and then we'll suddenly have this custard dough for our candy donuts. So now we're just going to pour in some of the water and then take this candy packet. So inside the powder's kind of white, and on the thing it shows that it's being yellow. But once you mix it, it starts being yellow, just like on the box. So I'm just going to add little by little because it doesn't really say whether we should add it all at once or little bit by little, just in case. I'm going to just start to gradually mix it in. And then we just have to basically mix it, and then once it's pretty good, we just knead it with our hands like I am doing right now. So it's very squishy and gooey right now. And since it isn't fully mixed, whenever you take some of the pieces, it just melts into the goo in between your fingers. So it's really squishy. But now that I'm adding a lot more of the powder, it's starting to get a bit clumpy. So I don't know if it's because I added it gradually or if it's just because of the powder. But maybe next time on the next part of when we make the chocolate dough, I'm just going to add the whole thing and then mix it, and then maybe it'll be better. So it's very clumpy and it's not a very smooth consistency. So I'm just going to keep adding it, I guess, and we'll see what happens. So now the powder is kind of turning the dough into a little bit of a grainy texture. Grainy, clumpy, gooey kind of texture. It's not even that pretty much gooey anymore. It's mostly grainy and clumpy. But now it's really tempting to add some water. But in the instructions, it doesn't say to add extra water. So maybe I'll just put that off until we really, really need that water. So yeah, I give up. I'm just going to add a spoonful of it of water and then yeah, just mix it. And it's actually way, 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 way better. Just pick up some of the powders that fell off, and so now it feels like that kind of squishy dough we had in the beginning because it's really soft and gooey and melts in your hand. And hopefully it really helps the dough to be a more of a, not technically smooth because we want it to be very thick, but we don't want it to be very clumpy, I guess. Now we're going to divide it in half and roll them into little balls. It's really hard to get perfect balls with this, but I guess that'll be okay for now. So now we're going to repeat step 1, but with our chocolate powder. This time I'm just going to pour the whole thing in, and it's apparently not that chocolate colored, but I guess like the custard, once you mix it, it'll just turn brown. So yeah, it is. Oops, some of the powder fell into the vanilla. I mean, not the vanilla, but the other little cup things. But we can always just add that later to the main mixture. So now we just are kneading it. I guess it's a bit better. Or maybe it's because we haven't reached all of the powder. But we'll see. So we add everything and then just like kind of trying to scoop it out. And then we just pick it up. I'm going to add a little bit water like I did with the last one because it seemed to have help with the vanilla, and I'm guessing it will help with this chocolate one too. So yeah, it is more softer. It isn't that clumpy or grainy like we did with the custard dough. So I guess this is an improvement when you add all of it at once. Just trying to pick up everything that fell into the little crevices, because the powder really likes to stick in the crevices. And dabbing it little by little, kind of like when you're playing with slime, also helps to pick up that extra powder. Now we're just going to divide that into half, and then we are going to stick them into our molds. I'm going to make one donut of each, one mochi and one mochi donut and one regular donut for each flavor. So you just kind of have to use your fingers, and there's some excess on the sides. So I'm just going to cut that extra dough off to make it look more like a regular mochi donut. Now we're going to use the donut mold. Oops, that cracked a little bit, and just fix it. Okay, then we just kind of pack it into the thing, and since that looks really bad, I'm just going to reshape it into a ball and then try to mold it again. It's really hard to get a perfect ball with these, or perfect sphere. So sometimes it kind of helps if you put the parts that are wrinkly kind of as the hole for the donut. It just helps a lot. Now I'm going to make another mochi donut and just pack it in. Oh, oops, I forgot to show you, but it's really frustrating sometimes when you're making the mochi donut and it's not like evenly like adjusted to each like little bump. So there's a lot of crevices. Sometimes some parts of it are like there's too much dough, and it's kind of hard to like move it around. But apparently when I took it out, it was okay. So I'll just kind of cut that dough off. Now we're going to do the last donut, which is going to be our vanilla regular donut, and just pack it in. The donut mold kind of has its difficulties too, because the mold that I got in the box when you push it accidentally too hard, then it'll kind of just pop and like crack a little bit. So now the next step is to make our icing. So we'll just take one of those little reservoirs and a little triangle cup, and then we just pour everything into the little reservoir and then add 1 triangle cup of water. So then just mix it. And apparently it's turning a lot smoother. Not too smooth, but it's a little bit thick for an icing, but it's still pretty. It's not that like hard to make otherwise like the dough. Now we're just going to do the other one, but I don't really feel like making a strawberry one, so I'm just going to make another chocolate icing. And this one, when it came out of the packet, it was already brown. So I guess it'll just turn even more browner now when we add water to it. Because unlike the dough powder, it's brown and the other one was white. So we'll see. Oops, some of it fell into the vanilla. I guess we'll kind of have a swirl, maybe icing. And then this one turned out kind of the same consistency as the vanilla one. And then next step is just to decorate it with, we also have croissant crumbs and sugar sprinkles. So I like some of the things they make, some of the designs they had on the cover of the box. So I'm going to try and make them myself, but it's a lot harder than it looks. So maybe it'll turn out kind of like it is, but I feel like a professional made those. So they also give you a piping bag, and I'm going to use my chocolate in that piping bag, and I'm just going to use most of it, everything that I can scrape out, and then just push it to the tip, but not all the way to the tip because we're going to be cutting off a little bit of it. So I'm just going to add a little bit more of the vanilla and then take my scissors and cut off the tip. So I accidentally cut the tip too big, so it's a lot more icing comes out than shown on the box, but I guess that it's kind of okay. It's not totally bad, but it's still pretty bad. So I tried to make kind of like a swirl, but it didn't turn out well, but I guess the croissant crumbs that I'm going to use will cover it. This next one is just kind of like something that I kind of made, but then I put icings on each of the bumps, and then it almost looked like an iced bun cake, almost. And then the last one is just the chocolate one, which I'm going to just cover the whole thing with vanilla icing, kind of like what they did on the box. And kind of like use my spoon to make it a bit more even. And then since the one that I used a piping bag with was already ruined, I just covered a lot of it with chocolate icing. Now I'm just going to open my croissant crumbs, which are both in vanilla and chocolate flavored, I guess, and just cover my mochi donut with them because I'm trying to like recreate kind of like the one that they had on the box. It's just easier to use your hands for this part. But I'm also going to put them on my other mochi donut. Then I'm just going to kind of open my sprinkles, and there's like hearts and all that type of sprinkles, and I'm just going to kind of make like the heart circle like they had on the box, but kind of more uglier. And then to cover up the mistake I made with the chocolate piping bag, I just covered all of the vanilla donut with sprinkles. And then I covered most of the other mochi donut with croissant crumbs, and then I added some icing for the middle. It didn't really want to stick to the donut because it was covered in the croissant crumbs, and then I tried to stick another heart in there. And then I added some of these regular, like line kind of sprinkles in between the hearts. I really like the Popin Cookin Make Your Own Candy Kit because it was like making donuts or mochi donuts, but in a much more easier and less complex way. It was also really fun to decorate all of them, like to make them with the icing and the sprinkles and cookie crumbs. If you want to see close-ups of these donuts and much more other arts and crafts projects I have done in the past, be sure to check out my Instagram, Thea__time, to see much more stuff.